guys, welcome. Good evening to every one of you. Papimento, Kabir, Sahbi. Um, Look, I'll be honest. I was preparing today. I was ready with the topics. And all these kind of things. And then we got the news. Actually, we got the news of Tadic yesterday, but today it was even worse. So, are we throwing all the topics away? No, we'll talk about the topics later. But let's focus on Tadic first. I think a few people also started with their comments about Tadic. So let's give our viewers what they want, right? And also we have to talk about it because it's quite important. Before I do, just checking up on you guys. Are you guys okay? Everything fine? The weather holding up? Kabir, Dubai, 50 degrees.
Ah, man, it feels like 100 degrees to be honest. But no, it's a nice cool 45 degrees, man.
Cool,
Cool.
cool 45. All right. Puppy,
Yeah.
how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, man. But this news with Tadic got me a little under, I must say. Like the only leader in our team, so you got to be worried, right?
We'll touch upon that, and of course,
Yeah.
all our viewers that are watching as well. Please ask us questions, give us your opinion as well on what's happening. We would like to hear from you. Sahbi, man, welcome back.
It's a pleasure, man.
I know.
How
It's good to have you. It's good to have you.
Yeah, glad to be back.
We invite you. You come again, and all this thing with Tadic is happening. It's not a coincidence, right?
No, probably not. So maybe it's good to stay away for a while.
Look, all right. Let's start about Tadic. Quickly, background. I think everybody knows, but just so we're aligned on this one. Yesterday, Mike Verwijk broke the news with Tadic is not happy about the current squad, the quality of the squad, and also there are links with him with Besiktas, of course. Has been rumored a couple of times, and also today he came. He came to the ground to Sportpark de Toekomst. He had a talk with our director of football, Sven Mislintat. 30 minutes together with his agent, who we know very well from last year in the summer. And he didn't train. He went back home. So a lot of fuel being sparked right now. What's going on? Should we be worried? Is this the last season of Tadic? Is he leaving us? What's going on, guys? I mean, how do you see this in general? I already see a couple of people reacting. I'll pick up on those comments in a bit. But let me start with you, Sahbi. Your thoughts on this whole drama?
Well, yeah, I mean, there are only losers in this, so to say. I mean, Tadic, a true professional, a legend, a hero, etc. In my view, he has the right to discuss, to ask, to come up with questions with regards to reinforcements, quality, and so on. I mean, we should not forget he's the only player from the 18-19 left, if I recall correctly. So he's used to the highest level that we played in recent years. And he's a winner. He's a winner. You saw that in recent years. But there's always a but. Nobody's bigger than a club. We all know that. And you can't force something if especially with the director of football, Mislintat, if his hands are tied. He can't do things without any funds available. So I mean, I would also love to see quality. I would also love to see my team a level up in comparison with the recent seasons. But we need to remain realistic. And the fact that he didn't want to train today, that's what we read. I mean, we don't know the full story. That's unacceptable. It's basically the same as Kudus, as with Anthony and so on. If all those things were true, this is the same example. Nobody's bigger than a club. He's a true professional. He should act like a professional. If you don't agree with the policy as it is right now, you can say something about it, but go and train. Do your thing. You're getting paid. So it has two. There are two things. I mean, he has the right to ask questions. Demands is not something that is acceptable, but he can do something, But he should always train, always do the necessary. So of course, I'm not happy about that, but I'm not happy as well with his agent with him going to that meeting. I mean, we all saw what an agent did to us last season, took over a lot and did some damage. So all with all, not happy. And as I said, only losers, only losers.
Yeah, you said took over, but we also handed him the keys out of panic, right? We didn't have our thing in order, so we let him basically decide our transfer last summer.
Yeah, but still, but it still remains the responsibility of management. It was Van der Sar who had the keys, and he gave the keys away. So yeah, I mean, and he screwed up. So basically, that's what it is.
Yeah. So I have Roy van Hensbergen. Good evening to you too. He's saying, Kabir, really, what's going on with our club, man? Can you explain it to us, Kabir, about this? You know, the whole situation with Tadic. What's your thought on this one?
Yeah, look, I think it's been a build-up. I think this is something which has been brewing for, well, I think certainly, since last season. In post-match interviews, Tadic was very upfront and honest in his worry about the strength of the squad. Like Sabi said, he is the last remaining one from, the 2018-19 team, which obviously did incredibly well, had a very high level, a quality mix of experienced players and young guns. And I think, look, when someone like Tadic is saying something like this, we have to listen, because Tadic has not only earned the right, but he's also someone that brings a certain mentality, like you said, a winning spirit. And he's achieved a lot for the club. He's been an incredibly key figure in the past 4 or 5 years. And I think that, if someone like Tadic is sort of deciding to have chats with members of the board and decides not to train, that's a big big warning sign. If someone like a Kudus does it, or an Alvarez does it, or an Anthony does it out of frustration, they're young, they're inexperienced, they might not train for a day. That's because of that particular situation at the time. But I think if someone like Tadic decides not to train, then you know that there are serious issues going on in the background. Look, in general, as I say, and also it goes back to what I said previously on shows here. I think that, Mislintat's come on board. He was seen as the great redeemer, someone that can sort of, get the right people on board. It's been a very poor transfer window, to be brutally honest with you. We've signed a young guy from AS Roma. We've signed a Dutch midfielder from, a French side on a free transfer. And, we got Maurice Stein on as manager. And me, I wasn't a fan of it then. I'm not a fan of it now. What do you think Tadic is thinking? That he wants to be...
Just quickly, sorry, Kabir, just quickly on that, because I have Donny Caravel who's asking a question like, do you agree that Tadic is forcing a departure by saying that he would have preferred Heitinga? And of course, the quality of the players is not good enough. So maybe we don't know this, because maybe Tadic is also thinking like Heitinga was a sacrificial lamb, basically, throughout the whole situation of Ajax going into last season. And maybe he doesn't agree with the fact that Heitinga was sacrificed like he was. Maybe that's also the point. It's not being mentioned anywhere, but maybe there's much more than only the quality of the squad, because that to me is too simple. That's something, Sven can tell him like, listen, it's only the 13th of July. We still have until September 1. Just have patience. We'll make sure we sort it out. But it seems there's more going on behind the curtains.
I feel like if he would have had a conversation and he would have been told what he wanted to hear, then I don't think it would have led to him not training. So I think he's had a conversation with Sven, with his agent, and Sven has probably been very brutally honest with him and said, look, we cannot, for several reasons, go after certain types of players. We probably have to aim for, people at the slightly mid-tier or youth players. And probably Tadic heard that and said, okay, you know what? But I don't think it's about forcing a transfer. I don't think he has to go down this route to force a transfer, This just seems like the club, even though, we've got a new manager on board, director of football, that sort of stuff, it's not, I think there's a lot going on behind the scenes. And he's just used to that level of success. And he can probably picture it. He said it's going to be another bad season this year, and I don't want to be part of it. Fair play.
Yeah, thanks, Kabir. Papi, your opinion on this as well. Just to add a comment from Ziggy, who says, Tadic is a captain in good and bad times. He should set the example. But this is definitely not the way of doing it, right? So how will this look to other players as well? What's your opinion on the Tadic situation and also the comments from Ziggy on this one?
I fully agree with Ziggy. I think in bad times and in good times, you should show leadership and show you're the captain. So in this case, I think it's very normal for Tadic to voice his opinion on the quality of the squad. Too bad he didn't do it last season. Why was he quiet then and not now?
No,
That's
he
a
did
question
say.
for me.
No, he did. He
He
did
did.
mention it.
I didn't
publicly.
hear him complain about Schreuder or that he wasn't happy with the
No,
quality
no,
of the
no,
squad at the
no,
beginning of the season.
About
Absolutely.
quality. He talked about quality at the end of the
no.
season.
Yeah, so around
And
April.
at the beginning,
No, wait. Just around April, there was an article. I think it was with the VE, and that was after we lost another one of the top games. As you know, last season we lost almost all our big games except maybe for one. And he said, if this happens, if we keep losing to these big teams, it's not a coincidence anymore. It has to do with the lack of quality of the team, and this should be something we should look at. And he was also trying to divert from the fact that people were like looking at Heitinga, and he was much more focused on the quality of the squad, because he said then there's something wrong with our quality of the squad. So he did voice it in April, but then it was silent for a long time.
Yeah, but he's voicing it now during a transfer season which is still open and which Sven is not really done yet. He's just waiting for transfers to go out. So why didn't he voice this when Van der Sar was at the Reign? Things like that. So look, I'm going to throw something up here. Maybe it's not true because a lot of things are just speculation here. What if there's no guarantee for him to play as much as he was playing?
Exactly.
What is if that the reason that he's maybe considering moving on?
Yeah, good point. Because I have Roy Nimbus who's saying Tadic prefers certain coaches because certain coaches give preferential treatment. Tadic wanted Schreuder. Schreuder failed. He's the last person that gets to complain. So maybe, as you say, Papimento, maybe there was a conversation behind the scenes already. Like, what does the future of Tadic look like? But on the other hand, he only had a talk with Mislintat. He didn't have a talk with Stang. So I'm a bit confused. If that was the case, he would have had a talk with the coach as well, right?
Indeed.
Or not?
No, perfectly right.
So probably, it's again, it's very vague. We're speculating here. Maybe there's much more going on. Maybe other people are saying maybe he's trying to force his way out. Maybe he wants to go to Besiktas. But for me, that also is strange, guys, because every interview of Tadic, his love for the club, his love for Ajax, he signed a contract even after his playing time. He will become a trainer or something. He wanted to do that. If you sign something like that, that means you're attached to Ajax. You want to stay at Ajax. He loves it here. So what's going on?
No, but
maybe we're not showing enough ambition, Juan. And it reminds me a little bit of the Robin van Persie time with Arsenal when he moved to Manchester United. Same discussion with Wenger. They couldn't invest. They couldn't bring in the players they wanted to create more depth. They couldn't compete for the number one spot. A player has to also consider his career, but they want to win silverware, right?
Yeah, but
if this is going to be another rebuild and he's 34 years old, he also have to consider his career, right?
I agree, but the only thing is, Van Persie went to United, and that was a team that was competing for prizes, and the chance would be there to win prizes. The only club we know he's being linked with is Besiktas. Besiktas is a big club, yes, in Turkey, but they are not like the front runners to win the league.
Who said that?
I'm sorry?
Who's saying that? They recently, 2 years ago, they won the league or something.
Yeah, but they won three titles in 10 years.
Yeah, but they were always competing for the number one position. So, I mean,
but what's the difference between Ajax and Besiktas then, Sahbi?
Well, winning prizes, and that's what I'm stating. He probably doesn't believe the quality is up to par to challenge the Feyenoord or the PSV this season. I mean, we didn't win any top game last season.
Yeah.
Any of them. And now he doesn't see any reinforcements. He only sees like small reinforcements. So in his view, he wants to know, I'm just thinking out loud from his perspective, what is the plan? I don't see any transfers right now. At the start of August, like the second week of August, we already have our first game. So it's basically 3 weeks before we really start the season. Maybe it's too late because knowing that probably Alvarez will leave, knowing that Kudus may leave, we don't know yet. Timber is already has left us, so we already have 3 players, key players, who are leaving us, who are leaving us from the squad of last season, and our last season was already shit, squad wise, quality wise. So we have to buy replacements for those players and additional quality players to uplift the quality of the squad. It
But
takes a
even
lot
if
of
we buy
time.
those players, but Sabi, even if we buy those players, what Tadic wants, right? We never buy one-on-one quality, and the quality we lost, we get back. It's always going to be time
No,
needed for youngsters or for the player to get into the
it
rhythm.
depends.
So basically, this is a rebuild season, and
It
maybe
depends. It depends,
Tadic already
Papi. It depends. I mean,
sees the problem.
we bought Bergwijn also to as a reinforcement, not as a young player. So maybe Mislintat is looking for those type of players as well, only for probably cheaper price or better talent and so on. So maybe that's probably the plan that he wants to know from Mislintat. What can I expect? Do we expect certain players coming in, or do we really have to wait? And is there any funds available, and so on and so on? Because if he sees that there's no quality coming in, the quality that he likes to see, then for him it's maybe easy for him to look further, because this I mean, we can be honest about this. Last season was a rebuild season. This coming season will probably be a rebuild of a rebuild season, because we're going to lose key players again. We're going to have new players coming in. Those need to gel. We have a new coach, the same as last season, with Schroeder, now with Stein. So it's going to be difficult, more difficult than last season. And Tadic, knowing his winning mentality, he doesn't want to relive that season again. And that's the problem. He wants to win. He wants to win prizes. And if he wants, and he's 34 years old, so if he wants to rebuild again, it's going to take 2 years, maybe even more, to get back to the level that we want. Well, he will be 36, 37. I don't think he will wait for that. And maybe that's his thought about why he went to Mislintat, and knowing that if he went to another club, maybe Besiktas, maybe a different club, he might have his chance to win another prize. That's what I'm thinking.
Let me throw something else to the discussion. Kabir, you can start first with this one. It's being, I mean, we're glazing on this one throughout the conversation, but let's focus a little bit on this one, because most of the fans, including myself, were like, we've been reaping the fruits, in the last few years. In the Champions League, we sold a lot of players. I mean, there's nothing bad financially at Ajax. Even if we spent 100 million last summer, we still are able to compensate this. But maybe the problems financially are much bigger than we expect going into Europa League now with the salary that we have. Because don't forget, I will never forget, there was an interview with Overmars when Overmars was still the director of football. And he said, like, we're budgeting at Champions League level. So the whole squad is budgeted on Champions League level. And even with that, so even with playing Champions League, we still have to sell 50 million.
Yeah,
50
I
million
know
every
that.
summer
I've seen that interview.
to break even. To break even.
Yeah.
That was at that time. And from that time onwards, it doesn't seem like we went back on the salaries or players. Actually, we still have a couple of players that are very expensive. And we even got expensive players in, since then. We have Klaassen, we have Bergwijn, we have Berghuis. So those players are not cheap. So how much of a problem is this also? And maybe this is also part of the discussion towards Tadic. Maybe Ajax would not be reluctant to let him go. I mean, it sounds crazy as fans to think that way, maybe. But maybe this is something that's also on the table. What do you think, Kabir?
Well, I think that, look, in terms of sort of, yes, in playing Europa League now this coming season obviously is going to have a massive impact on the finances. Like you said, we've been spending money. I think there's an element of probably being victim of our own success, because you sort of fall into this trap thinking that, every year is going to be good, and then you sort of budget for that and you look ahead. Look, I personally think in terms of your question, do you mean that you feel that Ajax don't want to let Tadic go?
No,
Is that essentially
I think they won't. They are not reluctant to the fact because Tadic earns like more or less
Well-
what we heard, 5 million a year.
I don't think so, to be honest with you. I think that, yes, there are financial constraints. Yes, the cost of the salaries are very high, and like I said, obviously Europa League and all that sort of stuff. But I don't think that that's they letting go of Tadic. If Tadic was to leave the club, then there would be a hell of a lot of ramifications from a sporting aspect. I'm guessing so that there will be a lot of ramifications on the sporting aspect for this season. Now that could have ramifications for next season. So the only way to get out of this situation and to get back to that is to obviously qualify to either win the league or qualify for Champions League next year. But if you're going to be getting rid of Timber, if Tadic is going to be leaving, if potentially Kudus and Alvarez are going to be leaving, like Sabi said, then you're handing in a lot of quality, and what are you going to get in return for it? So I don't think that 4 million or 5 million, whatever it is that Tadic is earning a year, I don't think that in the grand scheme of things, that's something that they're considering. I think it's panic stations right now at Ajax, 100%. If anything, I'm actually happy that something like this has happened, because it's a kick up the backside to the board, to the management, that actually action needs to take place. If we've got someone like Dusan Tadic that is, seriously considering or worried about the state of Ajax, we need to get, things in order, and we need to get things in order ASAP.
How much, Papimento, Sahbi, how much, because, by the way, we didn't even mention this, I'm really sorry, but Van der Sar, we also hope that Van der Sar will recover, of course, horrible news. But touching upon Van der Sar, we don't have a CEO, guys. So what does that mean? Does it mean that Midfield has all the keys? He can decide 100% more or less. Of course, the board has to rectify it. But is Midfield like on an island right now? He doesn't have a backup. Because don't forget, he's a new guy. You don't know how a new guy is being perceived in a new culture at Ajax. He's not a former like Overmars. He's not a former player, a legend, these kind of things. And don't forget, everybody chose Midfield, but it was, of course, the CEO, Van der Sar, who chose Midfield. So does he have the backing within the organization as well? There are so many things that are missing right now for us. My question to you is, can Midfield do whatever he wants to do? That's the question, basically. What do you guys think?
No, absolutely not, Juan. I mean, we know he got a discussion with them about what he is able to spend. So he's definitely, he knows what to do this summer. And I don't think he makes his choices alone. I think he does it in discussion with Stein, because he needs to put him on the field. And I'm certain he has a certain philosophy of playing. And it wouldn't be fair to the coach just decide everything on your own. And I don't see Sven as that kind of person. He seems like a person you can talk to, deal with. He wants your opinion as well, and he will do what's best for the club.
All right.
And of course, his CEO is important, but last season we saw that the sporting director is much more important. So it's about getting the best 11 on that pitch, first and foremost. And as fans, I don't even really understand what a CEO completely does, but it's important, and I know it has to be done quickly, finding a replacement. But I'm just happy we're not in a similar situation as last season, and now at least we're going for a little bit more quality, a little bit more balance in the team. With Tahirovic, Branco.
Well, how do you know? How do you know we're going for more quality and more?
Just based on comps, just the type of players. Like, for instance, Branco, we know his set pieces is good. Things we didn't have last season. Tahirovic, a physical player, good with his head. Things we didn't have last season. So we're getting a little bit more power in our team that we lacked last season. But there's still a lot to do in this team to fix it to the level we want, of course.
Sahbi, your view?
No.
By the way, Roy is saying quickly. Sorry, Roy is saying he's reacting to my point. He's saying Sven doesn't have the keys. Juan, he's on a leash basically. If he had the keys, we would have been moving quicker in the market. Yeah. So sorry.
By the way, Juan, we don't see the text. I don't know whether it's on purpose or not? The
No,
comments.
I'm just reading off the comments.
Okay, no, because
If
we
you
haven't
want to
seen
see
it.
it, I can
Now
show
we
it
see
to
it.
you.
Now we see it. Yeah.
All
Sorry.
right. All right.
No, but he's absolutely right, Roy. He's on a leash, basically because the only one who has the keys to the funds is Susan, and Susan Lendrik, director of finance, and she is the one who basically decides what kind of funds goes out and what to do with the funds that goes in. Van der Sar is overseeing everything, and Mislintat basically is being told how to handle the funds. And of course, based on the scouting reports and the input, he can make those decisions together with Stijn.
And of course, you have to get confirmation from the board eventually.
Yeah, obviously, of course. But in my view,
Kabir, I think it was
yeah.
too hot. He left.
He didn't like
He'll
my
be back.
comment. He didn't
He'll
like
be
my
back.
comment.
He'll be back.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, but it's in my view, as a management, you always need to look no short term. You can't look short term. You always have to look long term. And if we need to qualify for Champions League and being first or second, you need to at least give something to invest upon, because if the rule is for this moment from Susan stating we can only invest in transfers once funds comes in, it's like you're catching up constantly.
Yeah.
And that's not the way to go. You have to have a long-term thinking. I'm not saying you need to splash 20-30 million like we did last season. That ship has sailed. I mean, we saw that with Bergwijn, with Bessie. That's a huge risk. But if we see a gem of 15 million, knowing that he will bring us, he will uplift our level for sure, based on scouting reports, data, you can name it. We need to take that chance. But now Susan is literally stopping this, stating
because look, yeah, I agree. Look, Susan, she's looking at the financial side of things. That's her.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, that's her key point. And as I said before, we're in a maybe dire situation right now in terms of financially. Not now, but maybe this season, how we're going. If we go Europa League, etc., with all the wage bills, the expensive players that we have, etc., it might be an issue. But not only that, what do you guys think in general, and also the guys that are looking? So, Sabi, you're saying like we should still be able to take risk if it's very clear that this player is a unique player, a gem, somebody that will make us better? Or are you more like, no, I like the fact that we're being conservative because we went the other way last summer, and we spent so much money and we wasted so much money. We cannot have another summer like that.
But that's 180 degrees from conservative.
Exactly.
I mean,
exactly.
Okay, but I'm not saying we need to go that way with splashing for Bessie types and for Bergwijn, the 25 to 30. I'm saying we need to focus on the gems. And if they cost 50 million, 60 million, we should go for it, because there is more at risk if we don't qualify for the Champions League. And it's difficult because, as I said, we're in a rebuild season. So if we continue like this, I can put all my money on the fact that we won't get those. We won't qualify for the Champions League, because the quality is just not there. And that's why I said I do understand what Tadic was mentioning, that he wants quality.
What do you mean?
Everybody understands that.
You mean at the end of the year? You mean?
Sorry.
Qualify for the Champions League at the end of the season.
At the end of the season, you need to be. You need at least be becoming first or second. But if we continue like this, waiting for transfers to come in, because we can all see that Alvarez might take a while, although you never know. Kudus, it's still unclear whether he will go or not.
Yeah, but Sabi, look, you've been around. No, but listen, you've been following Ajax for quite some time, like us as well.
Yeah.
The majority of our transfers always happen at the end,
And that's the problem. The problem.
Exactly.
Do you want to wait until the end of the transfer window?
No, but sometimes we don't have a choice. But sometimes we don't have a choice.
No, but that's what I'm saying. No, you do have a choice. you can already calculate how much you will bank for. I mean, for Kudus, we already knew it will be at least 40. We're getting 40. For
No, but
Alvarez, you
no,
already
because
know
we
you will bank it at
Yeah.
least 35. I'm not saying you need to splash 35, but you will able to splash the
Sabi,
10 million, the 15 million. No need to wait until Alvarez left.
I totally understand what you're saying, but you're simplifying it, in my opinion, too much because
Not
already
simplifying it.
last year, Everton came at the end, and he was already upset because he wanted to leave. I mean,
Yeah.
you can value Kudus 40, and let's say Ajax says, okay, if we get 40, we sell him. If we don't get 40, we're not going to sell him. You cannot
Yeah.
do that because the player wants to leave. It's not that easy.
No,
Well, I don't think that's
yeah,
his
but-
point, Juan. But that's not his point. His point is the money that we're going to get for that sale, you can budget that already for your replacement. You don't need to wait for that sale to
But
go
you can,
through
yeah. So
for you
you're
to
saying,
be looking
but-
for something else.
exactly.
yeah, but you guys are taking a risk because you guys are saying, "Oh, we will sell him," but maybe we
No,
won't.
but
You don't know.
no, but of course, I mean, the objective is to sell him. That's already known. And I'm not saying we'll get 40 million, so we can splash 40 million. I'm just saying if you know you're going to sell at least one of those, Alvarez or Kudus, because Timber is basically sold. You know you can splash at least from both 20 million, for example,
Half of it.
50%, 40%,
But
30%
you're-
from what we're
But you
probably going
guys
in.
are, yeah, but you guys are literally, sorry, Kabir, you can go after me. But you guys are literally saying, you and Puppy are saying, you know what? Chances are high we're going to sell him. Let's already buy a player. That's what
Yeah.
you're saying.
No, I'm not literally saying by that amount. What I'm saying
No,
is,
but still,
what I'm
buy-
saying is,
I understand, but
No, no,
still,
no, but-
buy a player because we're going to sell Kudus.
buy before you have to wait until you have sold the player, because if you wait, you can wait till end of August, because clubs might wait until the end of August or mid-August, but then it's probably too late for us.
But that's a risk, Sahbi, to be honest. I don't know.
It's a risk. I'm not
I
talking
don't
about
see
30
that
million
as a
buys.
risk. I
I'm not
see it
talking about
more
30
as a
million
risk.
buys.
Sahbi, I see it more as a risk that we're in the end, we sell Kudus and Alvarez at the end, and we don't get any replacements in. That would be my worst nightmare.
Yeah, but
That's the worst thing that could happen.
and don't forget, we're already further in the process of the season. The season
Yeah.
already started because we start in the 12th of August. Qualification for the Europa League has already started, but we will buy until the end of August.
Look, again,
And
we're
then they
talking
need to gel. And then they need to gel. And we have a
Yeah,
new coach. And those ideas of the new coach will have to be implemented throughout the whole team, who still don't know how to play, basically, because they still need to get used to the way of playing with Stang. So
I understand.
only
what I'm
that.
trying to say
It's not
is
only
we
that.
need to start as soon as possible. We need to have our squad completed as soon as possible, because our season is early.
Okay.
And even
Quickly,
though
because I want to
Alvarez
read
and
quickly,
Kudus,
quickly. Go.
even though if Alvarez and Kudus and these players are not gone, our team still lacks in certain positions a competitor or a double player for that position. Like Rensch need a competitor. On the right central back, Timber is gone. We're sure of that.
Okay.
So where is the
Alright.
replacement? You know,
yeah.
things
So
like
let
that
me
you
add-
cannot
let me-
wait for.
Yeah, let me add something to this, right? Imagine you're gonna already buy a substitute player or a player already because you're thinking ahead that this player might be sold. What do you think that means to the market value of that player?
In what way? Sorry, again?
Timber is already
If you
sold.
already,
So
if you already are buying a player before that player is sold, because you know or you anticipate he will be sold, doesn't that increase the urgency of that club, in this case Ajax, to sell the player, which means his value will be dragged down?
Correct.
No,
I
don't
Yes,
have to.
absolutely.
you don't
I
have
agree
to.
with you, Mark.
You
Come here,
don't
go
have
ahead.
to.
Sorry.
No, I'm actually fully. I mean, I understand. I totally understand, Sabi, what you're saying, and you're looking at it from an Ajax fan who's frustrated that why is action not being taken? Again, we're going to have to wait the 11th hour, last minute, all that. I get that totally, but I also agree with Juan in the sense that there are so many different factors to all of this. It's not as easy as, oh, we think so and so is going to be sold, therefore we can do that. I mean, there's no guarantee in anything. It's the football world, right? There's no guarantee. Who knew that we would rake in 90 million or whatever it was for Anthony at the last minute? So I think you have to be financially secure. We don't want to go back to the dark days of under Frank de Boer when we were having to buy people for 500,000 euros. We're still in a situation where we can get people on board, but we have to be financially compliant and make sure we're doing things in a responsible manner to be able to ensure we can still,
I do agree with you that
Okay,
Kabir.
okay.
But understand, sorry, Paul. I do agree with you, but I'm not saying we need to splash 25 million. I'm just stating if we wait too long for those gems, I'm not talking about the high level players that cost too much salary. Those gems won't wait as well. I mean, there are other
won't wait.
clubs who will
They won't wait.
snatch them. So
But
you need to think cleverly to take those decisions.
I agree, but when you sell a player to another club, and let's say we sell a player for 25 million, 25 million doesn't come into Ajax's bank account the next day. It can be spread over 24 months, 36 months, 48 months, you name it. And if we purchase someone, and so there are so many moving parts.
But that doesn't matter because I mean, Juan can tell you all about credit. So we talk economics. It doesn't matter if you get that money today or next year. It's all being calculated in the yearly report, and it's all that's all being clear. It's not something that you can say like we don't get it today, so we won't include that in our yearly income.
No, true, but what is the state of Ajax's current financial situation? I don't think it's as rosy as what it was a year ago, 2 years ago.
I don't think we should only look at it from the financial aspect. I also think we should look at it from when is the steal, and if you see a steal, you should take action immediately and not wait for it. Because if you wait for it, that option can go. You can also wait till your players are sold, and by the time they're all sold and you got the money, the options for players become less in quality, and you have to compromise and not get the
and they're more expensive
you want.
And they're more expensive because you waited too long. The end of transfer window. I mean, you can look at it.
Where is the risk? If you really see a talent that you're gonna buy for 30, and on the books you could sell him in four years 60 easily, what is the risk?
No, but I don't think that we're at that stage yet where we're not going after people. Like, so for instance, Tahirovic or whoever it might be. I think if there is a gem and they're willing to come, then we will go for them. But that being said, okay, look at Arda Güler, for instance, who we were very, supremely interested for, and it was all very concrete. And then all of a sudden he decided to go to, another club. Okay, fair enough, it was Real Madrid, but you know what I mean? There were reports that actually Mislintat pulled the plug.
With players like that,
if that works,
needs to be a season before the other clubs.
That's the example that I had. If I mean, Mislintat didn't have the funds available, but what if Arda Güler, apparently there was interest and so on. What if they said we'll pay that amount? I'm not saying what the exact amount would be, but what if they said, okay, we'll pay that 18 million, and he's ours? That would be just like Puppy said. That would have been a steal. But by waiting that long, you get multiple clubs also interested in that guy. You saw Fabrizio Romano every day with a tweet about Arda Güler. I mean, every club probably noticed his clause. And again, I'm not saying he's worth 80 million because we all heard about agents, family, they wanted a bit more. But those are the steals. But if you want to have those steals, if you want to grab those steals as a small club within Europe in terms of finance, you need to take that chance. But if you wait until you sell, until the end of the transfer window, mid-August, end of August, it's basically mission impossible for Ajax.
No, I agree what you're saying for sure. But we don't know whether it was because, even if we had 50 million in the bank that we could spend, maybe they still thought 18 million would be too expensive,
Yeah.
All right. Guys, just to conclude the Tadic topic, which is almost 40 minutes, we went to the financial part of things. Just to answer also AFCA, who's saying the way Juan is arguing, you basically can't do anything because there's always something, or there's always something you can think of as a potential problem risk. But the reason why I'm arguing like this is because we went to the financial side of things, so you have to take that into consideration. But I do understand where Sahbi is coming from, where Papimento is coming from, and there is a split. I mean, I'm reading the comments, people agreeing with being a bit careful financially, but other people are saying, no, I agree with Sahbi Papimento because you need to be a bit more creative. You have to step up. You have to make the decisions already and not wait until the end.
And I said this.
Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry,
go ahead,
Sabi.
Papi.
I
Go
said
ahead,
this
go
on Twitter as well. For me, what I expect from Sven is quality over quantity. I don't want to have as many players coming in as last season. I want quality players coming in, not just random players coming in. That's one. And second, look, a sporting director usually also during the season he's looking for steals, things like that, to get them already on board. You know what Bayern Munich does with Ajax players usually. Waiting for their contract to end and then they swoop in. Those kind of things Ajax can also do with talentful players. But Sven needs a little bit time. He just started. So he's trying to rebuild everything in one transfer window, and that's kind of ludicrous as well. Think about it.
Yeah, I agree. Sabi, go ahead.
No, just want to state, like, I've went through the annual report of Ajax, and it's not that bad as people are saying. I mean, probably decisions are being made by management because they are way too conservative. Okay, and maybe they don't want to splash and they want to keep the shareholders happy and so on. But it's not that bad as
No, I agree.
as people
I
are
agree,
saying.
Sabi, but the annual report is always looking back. They are projecting forward.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think that's the difference.
But that's why I'm saying we have to look long term. Management needs to look long term, and an annual report's always what happened last season. Upcoming season, okay, we don't have any Champions League, but you do want Champions League eventually, right? Otherwise,
Yeah,
you
of
will
course.
remain a Europa League club,
Yeah.
and then you can fight it out with AZ instead of with PSV. So yeah, choose which
All
battle
right.
you want.
Okay, so to conclude the Tadic conversation, I want to ask you and also the people that are viewing. Let's say hypothetically he leaves this summer. Tadic leaves Ajax. How much of a backdrop would that be in terms of quality for this squad going into the season? Let me give it to Papi first.
I think he's an exceptional leader, and I don't think we have anyone else in this team that has those qualities. So I think in that sense, Ajax will lose a lot. But we also shouldn't be blind to what Tadic is now. He's not the Tadic from 18-19. He's not going to be the Tadic that plays every game anymore. He might not even play his favorite position, left winger, but he might play central as a 10 maybe or something like that. I think we're going to see a lot of different things from Tadic this season, but I still think he could be very useful for a team, for the cohesiveness, for getting the youngsters introduced to this team and getting a high work rate, high level of motivation within the team. So very important to this team as a leader. And I would hate if he would leave, to be honest.
Kabir?
No, I think it's there are a lot of Ajax fans drop Tadic and Tadic should be substituted, but you don't know what you have until it's gone, right? That's the saying. And if Tadic was to leave Ajax, that would be a really, really bad move for us. I mean, it would have catastrophic. I'm being sincere because this guy, like Papi Mentos saying, it's not just about what he can do on the football pitch, but it's about the culture. It's about the guidance. It's about the leadership. It's about the personality that he is. That Serbian fighting spirit. And that is so infectious within a footballing changing room or within a squad environment. You lose that, and I can see this coming down like a pack of cards. I was already not super hopeful at the start of the season. If Tadic leaves, then no hope whatsoever.
All right. Sahbi, also for you, the Tadic question, but also I'm adding this question to you as well. Let's say he leaves. Who is going to replace him as a captain?
Let me start by saying I totally agree with Kabir and with Papi. He would be a real loss, dramatically a loss for Ajax, mainly not only because of his football assets,
Capabilities.
his capabilities. Not only that, because he declined, of course, in his level, and I don't expect him to play all the games, but he's still MVP. He was MVP last season, the season before, and I think even the season before that as well.
He has been MVP for 5 seasons, I believe, in a row.
That should say something in terms of goals and assists. So that's one. But secondly, assuming, of course, that Alvarez will leave, who within the squad at this moment has the personality to be a leader?
What about
To have
Klaassen?
the winner's mentality?
What about
Klaassen
Klaassen?
won't get the respect. Klaassen won't demand the same respect from the players as someone like Tadic because Klaassen doesn't even play.
Yeah. We
No,
also had
so-
somebody mentioning, I don't know if it's a joke, but maybe Randall, but
That's a big joke. Yeah.
The best
Probably
left back
big
in
joke.
Europe. We forgot about him. Sorry.
But seriously, I can't then name anybody who is be able to take over that role from Tadic.
Yeah.
That leadership, the personality, that winners mentality.
Yeah.
So
Ziggy is saying, just like you, he doesn't think there will be a
exactly,
leader.
and that's basically 30% of a squad, of a starting 11. You need to. I mean, if we score, he brings all the players together. If he scores, that winning mentality and so on. It's not football, but we already discussed that football, as in he was MVP last 5 seasons. So I'm not seeing as a real starter in upcoming season, but still he would be a true asset for me. So if he would be gone, it would be difficult. And to have, and as a replacement, I really don't know a name because it didn't even came to my mind that he would leave, us. So yeah, I really need to think about that. It's a difficult
Yeah,
one.
I just want to mention one final thing. I think on the whole aspect of culture and what he brings to the team from that perspective, I think his departure would be amplified also if Alvarez left as well, because Alvarez is probably the only other guy in the team who has that mentality, that fierce, over my dead body, that grinta. Now, if both of them leave,
Yeah.
you can forget about it.
Yeah, somebody's saying Hato as a captain. Maybe in the future, who knows?
Yeah,
I
maybe
saw
in the future,
Berghuis
but-
as well.
Yeah.
But
All right, guys. So 46 minutes on the Tadic. Let's just let it rest for now. Look, our intention was for this session, this video, this podcast, to talk about our midfield. Steve, I don't know if he's watching right now or he will watch later, but he's been pushing for this topic for 3 weeks, and we don't want to upset Steve, man, because he always reacts to us. He's always nice to us. So when people are nice to us, we're nice back, right? So. Let's touch upon the midfield, right? There's so many players that can play on the midfield. So we're taking every player into consideration that has played also as a 10 or as a 6 or as an 8. And we're looking at the current squad. And I'm giving you 2 options. You can make a midfield including Alvarez or without Alvarez. So both versions.
and Kudus, right? And Kudus.
And Kudus as well, if you like. Yeah, he played as a 10 as well. So I would go and just ask you guys, and maybe the people that are watching can also give us their favorite midfield from where we are right now, from how we can judge it from the little information that we have, because we haven't really seen Van de Bomen or Tahirovic play. So just to be clear, we're talking about a lot of players. Even Fitz-Jim is in the first squad, so he's also a midfielder. So I'm talking about all the players. So if you have to choose 3 players, the 6, the 8, the 10, what would be your midfield, guys? Let me go with Kabir first, then Sahbi, then Papimento, and I'll keep an eye on the comments as well.
I think I'm going to include Alvarez because he's still, he hasn't gone, right? So I'm going to say Alvarez, and then I'm going to put Kenneth Taylor in there because, I think this could really be his year to shine, and Berghuis as your number 10. So I think you've got the defensive aspect of Alvarez, you've got the central midfield capabilities of Taylor, and you've got the attacking capabilities of Berghuis. And I think if Alvarez was to leave, then I would automatically assume that someone like a Tahirovic would slot in and fulfill that position. But I think that, Kenneth Taylor deserves to get, I know it's been a couple of years, maybe a year and a half, 2 years, but this really is his opportunity to shine. And I prefer someone like a Mohamed Kudus on right wing, cutting in on his left-hand foot, just because I feel that you don't have to be that tactically disciplined as a right winger as you do as a number 10. So I don't think he quite has that tactical discipline just yet to operate as a number 10. So those are my reasons behind it.
All right. So some people are not happy with your Berghuis mention. And also Roy is saying, Kabir, man, that's a nightmare of a midfield, man. So
Everybody has opinion, right?
Look, everybody has their opinion, but let me just ask something, Kabir. I don't know if you mentioned this. Maybe I was too busy with the comments, but if Alvarez doesn't play, who's number 6 alternative for you?
I'm going to go with Tahirovic.
Okay. All right. Sahbi.
I feel like
Your
that's
turn.
why you brought him on board, right?
Yeah, exactly. I understand. Sahbi.
For me, as a six, Alvarez, because we need that grinta. We need that vacuum player who takes all the balls in midfield to disrupt midfield. I will go for Branco van der Boma as a number 8, mainly because of his vision, the set pieces, the free kicks, indeed, a set piece, the corners, but also the in-depth passes, the crossings, and so on. He can definitely be an asset. It's if the wingers, of course, know how to go deep. And Alvarez can do all the stuff next to Branco. And as a number 10, I'll go for Kudus because we need somebody in midfield who's technically gifted, who can play in tight spaces, and who's able to assist the striker. So for me,
Okay,
those would be the.
so you're a bit
midfielders.
different than Kabir in the sense that Kabir would prefer Kudus on the right wing, but you
Yeah,
would
me
prefer
too.
Kudus as a 10.
I would prefer a right winger, like a real right winger
A
who
real
can
right
go
winger.
deep.
And can I ask you? I mean, I have two more questions. One question is, what about the veterans, Klaassen and Berghuis?
The fact that I didn't mention them is sufficient, right?
Okay, I thought maybe you would put Berghuis on the right wing, but that's not also.
No, he's not a winger. I mean, Berghuis should compete. Taylor should compete with Branco. And as we don't have a 10 right now, Berghuis should compete with Kudus. And Alvarez and Vos Tahirovic needs to compete with Alvarez. Although I haven't seen Tahirovic play, I did see Vos play. So if Alvarez wouldn't play, I would start with Vos until I know how Tahirovic plays, because I'm not going to put somebody in based on a name or a transfer.
Okay, clear. Thank you for that. Puppy, it's your turn. I suppose we're not going to have Klaas in the midfield, right?
Absolutely not, bro. Why would you say that? Downplaying my midfield, huh? I see it. Listen, plan A is with Alvarez and Kudus, but I'm guessing they're leaving, so I'm going to give you also a plan B, right? Plan A is going to be Alvarez, Berghuis, Kudus for me on 10. And why Berghuis? Because I thought in the first half of the season he was one of the ones that stood out with his passing, breaking down lines, getting the ball through the midfield to attacking positions. So I really like that about him. And I think if he can get that level again, he would be a very great 8. And I have to say Tahirovic and Branco, as I say Franco, are are not very familiar to me. So I think they still have to prove their spot, their worth in this team. And plan B would be, I think, Tahirovic, Berghuis, Taylor.
Taylor is a 10. Taylor is a 10
Yeah.
for you. Okay.
Yeah. I like him more near the box, not as an 8, not as a 6.
And Berghuis is an 8. That's interesting because Berghuis is pretty dangerous when he's close to the opposing, like goal, because he has a good kick. But you would like to play him a bit more deeper in the field.
I think his passing is important, but also we have to consider we play with 1 6 and 2 10s basically, right? The 8 is a little bit more defensive, but he will get to the yard box of the opponent.
We have to see what Stijn does.
Exactly. Okay. But I'm guessing he will have opportunities to shoot. He will have opportunities to give a nice assist from that position. So and it would be good for him to just focus on one position, Juan, because going from right wing to 10 to 8, I'm so tired of that. I just want to see people knowing what their position is going to be and fighting for that position. If they're coming off the bench, I want to see him on that position.
So talking about Tadic, if he stays, would he be a consideration on number 10 or Bergwijn for you guys?
No, because I'm not a Bergwijn fan. So Tadic will play left wing, offload Bergwijn. High salary anyway.
Sahbi?
No, I wouldn't play them. I mean, they're not number 10 players. So I'm tired of putting players in a starting lineup based on their name. If you're a left winger, you should play left wing. You should compete for the left wing position, and not Bergwijn putting on the right wing because we paid 30 million so he needs to play. It doesn't work that way for me. So no midfielder for me.
Kabir, any other
No,
thoughts on this?
No, I mean, I think that if Tadic was to stay, then he has to play on the left. And I personally believe that it would be the right message to someone like a Stevie Bergwijn that, you start on the bench. We bought you in for X amount of money. You didn't deliver. You start on the bench. Simple as. And I agree with Sabi. Don't put people on the pitch just because you feel like you're compelled to do so. If you're not performing and if you're not in the right position, you don't play because it's impacting the actual performance levels of the team. Simple as.
Yeah, guys, let me ask you something else about the midfield. I have to drop this name because I know it was the first game of the season, the Den Bosch game, and we only saw the first team players that were available in the first half. But also, if I'm hearing you guys out in terms of your midfield, I don't hear the name Klaassen from any of you. And Klaassen is a veteran, earns good money at Ajax. What should be his role? Does he have a role? Is he valuable for Ajax still? I mean, I'm asking this question because would we accept him being a bench sitter for this season? What do you guys think of this whole Klaassen situation right now? Let me go to Kabir first.
Well, I think that, Klaassen, it's a tricky one because I think that, he is Mr. Ajax. Okay, he hasn't spent his whole career, but pretty much all of his career at Ajax. He loves the club. He always gives 100%. He's never gives up. And I'm sure he's a great personality in the changing room, to have that for the younger players. But the fact of the matter is that I'm not really or haven't been too impressed with what he's been able to offer on the pitch. I also understand that he hasn't really had the opportunity to have a run of games where you get into a rhythm and all of that. So I appreciate that. But, if he was to leave tomorrow, it wouldn't be the saddest thing in the world. But I would prefer if he stayed. But I think that he needs to have an understanding that he will come off the bench, to force the issue a little bit. Because he's also not someone that's going to, string 40-yard passes or ghost pass players. He relies on his work ethic, running into spaces, getting on the back of second balls, always being there. I think if we need to force the issue in a game, as he's known, Mr. 1-0, then you can bring him in. I think that's the realistic situation with Klaassen, in my opinion, at Ajax.
Yeah. Puppy, your view on Klaassen. I know you're not the biggest fan, and I'm being very modest right now, but just quickly. You would offload Klaassen?
Well, I know he's a high-paid player within the team, around 4 million. I'm just guessing here.
I think 2.5, 3, something like that.
For that to just sit on the bench, that's just not good for Ajax. So it's better that he finds a place where he can play week in, week out. He's also not the youngest anymore, so he might need to think about the last years of his career. But also, look, I thought he was average when we bought him. So what he's going to be when he's aging? It's the best is out of him, and I don't think we're going to get a better Klaassen, and I don't think we're going to see a better Klaassen this season than last season. So, he might be the best personality in the world, and he might be good in the dressing room, but you have to also be able to give something on the pitch, and I don't see that.
Okay, Sahbi, finally you, man. You can say what you think about the Klaassen
question. And Juan, before Sahbi goes, there's a question.
I know. I saw all the comments. Okay. Yeah, I'll touch upon it. I'm just going off on the Klaassen.
I'll go. I'll go brief on this.
Yeah,
I mean, sure. I agree with Papi. Klaassen, he did great for us, but based on his salary, we already talked about the finances. This is exact thing that needs to be done. Also for him, he wants playing time. He has an age where he wants to play games. It won't happen at Ajax, I presume. So why favor him? Just favor him a transfer to a club where he can play, where he can earn his money, and we thank him for his services.
But I mean, if you take into account, right, Edson leaving, like Kabir said, and then maybe Tadic leaving, because I'm also hearing somebody saying Tadic is basically hinting on his Instagram that it's over, so he might be leaving. And now Klaassen leaving. Look, Klaassen is not like the same standard. He doesn't play all the games, but for the dressing room, leadership, mentality, these kind of things, he does bring that to the squad. So if he leaves as well, aren't we going too much into being a youth team again?
Good.
No, because it will be the task of Mislintat to bring in some experience, some personality, some leadership into the squad. And that's why I'm saying we need to do this early, because he has a huge task to fill in all those gaps that we currently have in our squad, and to wait before we sell. It's not doable for him. It's not doable for him.
I think we're clear on that one from your perspective.
No.
You made it very clear. Okay, guys. Moving to the next one. We got a super chat. Thank you for that from Freezer Burnt Peace. Am I reading that correctly? Okay, that's a nice name. United fan here. Would you take Donny van de Beek back? And if so, how much? Keep up the good work. Hope your channel keeps growing. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. Actually, the funny thing is we were going to talk about Donny van de Beek. It was on the topic list, but we had to start with Tadic, and that took almost the whole show. But let's go quickly. Let's do a round on this one, guys. I want your opinion, because actually, if I'm hearing you guys, we can offload everyone. Would Donny be the one that we should get then? And how much would be acceptable for you if you would be okay to getting him? And I want also the opinion, of course, of our viewers, because I also like to hear your opinions on this. Why don't I kick off with Puppy? Donny van de Beek, Puppy.
Yeah, man. You know how much I love Donny, right? And, in the time that he was with Ajax, one of my favorite players, one of my favorite personalities. This is the guy that went and, he couldn't play for Ajax, but he went and stood with the F side watching that game. So I love Donny. But Donny hasn't played in years at Manchester United. He has been injured a lot at United. He has a salary maybe that we might not even be able to afford. And we don't even know what kind of level he is now after all those injuries. We might not even get the Donny of the 18-19 season, but a whole different kind of Donny, a more Klaassen kind of Donny. And if it's that level, then I know.
You had to drag Klaassen into the discussion, man.
I'm just saying, like, with that amount of injury, look at Martial, for instance. Great player, but constantly injured. He's not going to be the player for us to get us through a difficult season.
You don't want to take that risk, and maybe we're not in that position to take that risk either, right?
And even if he doesn't get injured, you don't know what the level is you're bringing in, because he didn't play as many games as you would want from a player.
So basically too risky for you.
Yeah, way too risky for me.
Yeah.
Kabir, what's your point on this? What's your point
I think from a sentimental viewpoint, I would be like, yeah, let's bring Donny back. Then we can start singing the chant as well. Donny van de Beek, Donny van de Beek, all that sort of stuff. But from a realistic point of view, nah, we're not a charity home. Like the dude.
Charity or a rehabilitation center?
Yeah, exactly. It's a rehabilitation for charity. The dude's played what, 5 games in the last 2.5 years or something? Come on, man. Like it's no. Oh, we will always love Donny. We will always respect him. He'll always be an Ajax seed, but he's not the kind of guy that we need to bring on board. So I'm sorry to say, Mr. Freezer Peas, but no, I don't think that we would take Ajax Donny van de Beek back at Ajax.
Okay. Sabi, let me guess. You want to take that risk, right? You're the risk taker in this chat.
I'm the risk taker, Mo. Bro, I'm the risk taker. But with certain conditions. No, I mean, Donny is a child of the club. He did very well for us. Totally right. Injury prone. Didn't play a lot, and so on and so on. So I would never buy him from United. Sorry, United. But I would probably loan him with an option to see. And then, of course, not a huge loan fee. And also discuss a bit about salary, like that they would take over a huge cut of the salary because they don't want to pay his full salary as well.
Would it be a loan with
not a mandatory option,
or without
option to buy, but without a mandatory clause? So
Okay.
You can see how he handles the full year.
But
You see whether he's an asset.
yeah.
And
But what
6.2
about-
million
what
a
about-
year. 6.2 million a year. He makes.
Yeah, but
Still not
I'm
bad.
thinking like the salary needs to be mostly being paid by
Aligned.
United.
Aligned. Yeah. Look. What about the midfielders that we have? Because we just spoke about the midfielders. I mean, you guys already came with your midfield. If we add Donny also to the mix, is he gonna play? Don't we have too many midfielders?
Agreed. Way too many.
Don't know. I mean,
Uh,
on paper, yes. But
let's
if
be
you,
let's be honest. Let's be honest. Donny, his specialty in the box. I mean, that's just not
Yeah, but
every
also-
player can have that.
Yeah, but also Klaassen has that specialty in the box.
Yeah,
Let's be
they're
honest.
similar. They're similar.
Yeah, but I think
yeah, but I see Donny
Yeah,
as
go
a
ahead.
way improved player than
way
Klaassen.
for version.
So
Yeah,
if
exactly.
you if you offload Klaassen and you don't buy in a new 10, then Donny might be a proper replacement without having the risk to buy him, you know? And
Okay.
it gives you time to look for a decent number 10 if you can't find one in the summer window.
But I also want to explain to you guys where I'm coming from. I think if we go for like a Donny, he's at an age that he's gonna deprecate in value after a while. If he stays 3-4 years at Ajax, he's not gonna have a lot of value. If you go for a youngster 10, maybe that's Spertian everybody's talking about. 3-4 years, you're gonna sell him double the amount you bought him for, maybe. So and we talked about missing out on the Champions League. But Ajax's biggest sales have given them the room and the breathing space to buy good players. The sale of Frankie, the sale of De Ligt. It's about getting the right technical players that have high ceilings that can give us the pleasure now and give us the pleasure at the end of his contract where we sell him for big money.
All right. Kabir, do you
mean-
want to add something to this?
No, I was just going to say that, from a footballing aspect as well, Donny van de Beek was obviously an incredibly crucial player when we had that magical campaign 2018, 2019, right? And who was our manager? Erik ten Hag. Erik ten Hag is obviously now at United. Donny is at United. Erik ten Hag hasn't even put him in the 26-man squad to go on the preseason tour. That tells you enough, So he's not going to be right for us from a footballing perspective, from a quality perspective.
But can't it be that it's more because of the Premier League that he can't handle the physicality? Because Klaassen was at Everton, didn't perform, but went to Germany and did well.
There's potentially an element of that.
So,
but you could flip it and say, well, if that's the case, if it is going to work out under anyone, it's going to be Erik ten Hag because he knows how to use him in the right way.
Klaassen was fit though in Everton, but he wasn't chosen because I think they had a switch in coaches and he didn't really like him or something.
Yeah, but he was
with
two
Donny,
coaches.
it's because of injuries constantly. He hasn't been fit for a long period of time.
Yeah, because he's
for Ten
pumped.
Hag
He
to
pumped.
consider.
Maybe that doesn't suit him, because he could see his first season, second season he was like more of a bodybuilder. He really was
Big.
pumped. He was really in working out. So maybe there can be a reason. I mean, he wasn't injured at Ajax at all. So, I mean, you can think about that as well. And since this is a rebuild season or rebuild of a rebuild season, it wouldn't be bad to have an experienced player who knows the Ajax culture, DNA, and so on within your squad without having the risk to buy him, to splash that money. That's all I'm saying.
All right. I hope we answered the question on Donny van de Beek. Guys, I want to actually use the last 5 minutes just to finish this podcast. If any of the viewers have like burning questions for one of the panels, please send it now. I will have a look at them. I do have one question for you guys. We've been rumored with a central defender, a CB, a young one from Sparta Prague, I believe. Martin Vitic, 20 years. I've heard of his name. I haven't watched him play, I'll be honest. I don't know if you guys know a little bit more about him, if you guys had a chance to hear or read upon him. What's your view if we manage to sign him? Would he be complementary to Hato in your view? Let me go with Puppy first.
Yeah, of course. When we're linked with the player, I'm gonna go into the compilations, right? So I did that. What I could see, of course, you're going to see a league that's not the Eredivisie. You do see more gaps. It's not the same level, but he's pretty complete, Juan, if I must add. He has an aerial ability. He's physical. He's strong. He can dribble. He has a good passing. So he's pretty complete. And I see him as actually a good match for Hato because he does have the height. So he can help a little bit in that. And they're both good on the ball. So nothing wrong with a player like that.
Would you be okay to have, like, because Martin Vitic is 20 years, Hato is 17? Would you be okay with having such a young central pair, defending pair?
Look, if it's a rebuild season, yeah, I wouldn't mind.
Is it a rebuild season?
It's a rebuild of a rebuild.
We're a rebuild of a rebuild where we're not allowed to spend a lot of money. So I'm gonna say it's a rebuild.
Okay. Sahbi, do you know anything about Vitic? Did you have a chance to read or look at him?
I had a chance to read and see a little bit of in need of video. But as Papi said, he's a good player. Aerial ability. He's tall, physically strong, knows how to slide. So he's going hard. He's able to make rushes, just like Timber often does. So that's a good thing to see him as a replacement. What I don't know, maybe Roy can tell us a bit more about that in his comment, is he able to play with like 50 meters space behind him? Is he quick enough to recuperate during a counterattack? Because that's basically our biggest risks when we play at Ajax. We play a bit attacking, moving forward, going. The line are quite high. Is he able to play with so much space behind him? If he's capable of doing that, because Hato is quite fast, but to do that we need two fast players.
Yeah,
it will be a perfect deal.
Yeah, Kabir, before I go to you, just quickly, because we have a Feyenoord person, and he's saying, or she is saying, we should talk Dutch. So let me be perfectly clear about this. We're an international channel. That's how we started 4 years ago. Maybe it's new to you, but we've been talking English for 4 years. Most of us are Dutch, so we can speak Dutch. But there are so many podcasts out there in Dutch, so I would suggest you to listen to Pantelich podcast, maybe Kale and Kokkie. There's so many great things out there in Dutch, so we're doing it in English. I hope you're not very disappointed. And I wish you all the best, but I don't wish you to become champions again this season. So thanks again. Kabir, go ahead.
No, look, I think that would be a typical Ajax purchase, to be honest. Young, a lot of potential, has the right ingredients to be a success. You know, as the guys touched upon, you know, great aerial ability, decent presence, you know, fairly good with the ball at his feet. And I think and also, you know, that again, like the South American grinta, but that Eastern European mentality, it's very different to a Dutch mentality where it's very much, you know, it'll be all right, it's fine, you know. But with that Eastern European mentality, that adds to it. So I think that would be definitely a really good purchase. And, you know, talking about the whole package, I think it would be great.
Okay. All right. I don't see any new question except for people. Somebody mentioned Ziyech. So just quickly, I don't think we can pay him, to be honest, but just quickly, one sentence, each one of you. Kabir, take it.
Absolutely would love the Wizard of Amsterdam to come back.
All right. And even if we have like a bit of financial problems, you won't mind like just splashing?
Absolutely make room for someone like Ziyech to come back. Absolutely.
Okay. Exception for you. Exception.
Like he is, you know, he would, oh man, I would love it. A very different situation to Donny because he hasn't been playing regularly, but it's not like he's been injured and he's had flashes of brilliance at Chelsea. In fact, I think that had Lampard had stayed as Chelsea manager, he probably would have had a much longer run. But Lampard, I think, got sacked quite early on to when Ziyech went to Chelsea, and that ruined his. But great player. Great player.
Sahbi, I have to ask you, man. Ziyech.
I mean, is it a rhetorical question? Because you know my answer, man. Of course it's yes. Especially if Tadic would leave. We have Timber who's leaving. Those are big salary takers. So I wouldn't mind. I mean, he has to cut a bit of his salary, Ziyech, but yeah, no doubt, bring him in. Bring him in. He would bring so much fun and excitement, something that we miss at Ajax.
Yeah. So guys, you guys know I don't like our viewers to be mad at me. So Roy is already saying like, please show what I said about Tadic, which we'll do right now quickly.
Of course.
So he's swift, has very good composure, excellent marking skills. I think he can be playing with space in the back, no problem. And let me see. He said also he's also a player with tremendous anticipation, good passing, and great ability to read the game. All right. So again, Roy, I'm not ignoring you, man. I read it. Here we go.
But then again, Juan, I'm coming back again to to my first part. If we wait too long for this gem, apparently, we will lose him. So
Yeah,
let's
true.
wait until
I'm a bit
selling.
surprised. I'm a bit surprised, because you're a Muslim guy. Muslim guys are conservative, but you're like a gambler, basically. You want to take risk before the money.
This is not a gamble. From what I'm hearing from Roy, this is not a gamble. And I know he's salty. And if he's coming up with this kind of shit, I'm down.
Okay,
It's
so
not a gamble.
you and Roy are like this now.
Definitely.
All right.
100%.
And on Ziyech,
Yeah, go ahead.
I would say no.
Oh wait, why?
Oh, because I love Ziyech, but the team is not made for Ziyech. You saw that Ziyech's best moments on the wing was when Promes was playing or Neres was playing on the other side. You're not going to do the same tricks with a Tadic on the other side. So you would have to change the whole system just to make it worthwhile for Ziyech to play his best position.
All right, guys, we covered actually everything. I just want to pull up one comment. I enjoy that this podcast is in English. Otherwise, I couldn't watch. Greetings from Stuttgart. Keep it up. Thank you so much, DNY. Yeah, look, again, we could have chosen to do it in Dutch. We deliberately did it in English, and we want to continue in English because we are pretty much aware that our fans out there, football fans that also like Ajax or maybe are fan of Ajax but are not native, in Dutch, or they don't understand Dutch. So we want to give them a platform also to discuss, to share opinions, and that's why we created this channel in the first place. I hope that's clear. I know a lot of Dutch people are a little bit, like, I hope it was in Dutch. I understand their opinion on this one, but this is really for a group of people that are not being heard, basically, and that's why we did it. So I hope you guys understand. We enjoyed this podcast. Thank you so much, everyone. It was almost 1 hour and 20 minutes. Let's hope this transfer window goes in the right direction, guys. Let's see what happens with Tadic going on. We have 2 friendlies next week as well. So, Kabir, Stijn has to bring his in-game.
Oh, man. Yes, he does, basically. But you know my view on this. I don't hold out any hope. I'm counting down the time to Christmas.
I hope he proves you wrong, man. I hope he proves you wrong.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a nice evening and take care.
Cheers, guys.